Hello, welcome to Shad Life. I am up here in Cuyuna for Memorial Day weekend, and I brought my mullet build with the gears. So my last couple of videos were getting this set up and didn't have the right chain ring, but now I do. So that bike's dialed, and I'm really excited to ride it up here and try it on a bunch of the trails in its mullet configuration. I know how it rides in its normal configuration because I've ridden it a bunch up here with it. Just a quick update on this. This is the POC or POC. I guess I'm not 100% sure if you're supposed to pronounce it POC or not, but it's the Cordal Race helmet, and apparently it has some avalanche detection thing, which I have no idea how that works. But yeah, it's a really good helmet. I'm really liking it. Probably the best helmet I've ever had. I'm a big fan of gyro helmets, or gyro, again, pronouncing the names of all these products. Not sure which way you're supposed to say it, but this helmet is really cool. I like it. And that's what I've been wearing and will be wearing this summer. I just got it in the spring, and I'm gonna go ride that bike on the Sagamore trails today. Tomorrow I'll get into some of the other trails. I'm excited to take that on winds and do some jumps with it and stuff. But I'm gonna take it on Sagamore and ride around and talk about how it feels and things like that. Sweet. Let's do it. It's such a beautiful weekend. I'm so glad winter's over. I'm still like reeling about winter because it was so bad. I am on Klondike. Well, actually this is Blaster. It's a offshoot from Klondike. It's just a little climby and downhill loop. This bike baffles me beyond anything I can really comprehend. It's still super agile, and I'm starting to think what I did is I put a 29er front wheel on it, but I also dropped to a 120 fork. But I did drop to a 120 29er fork. So the front end should still be taller. The axle to crown and then the larger wheel should make the front end taller and make the head angle slacker, which it did, but it does not feel that way. And I'm starting to think about geometry a little bit when we talk about mullet, or what they're, I kind of like the term MX build instead of mullet. And the reason why is because motocross bikes have a larger wheel in the front and a smaller wheel in the back, and they've been like that since as long as I can remember. 70s, maybe even in the 60s, right? And there's something about the front axle being higher than the rear axle, and I'm starting to wonder, in a case like a MX build like this, we have a 27.5 rear wheel, 29 front wheel, even though according to the ground, if you're measuring parallel to the ground and you do a head angle measurement, then it's going to be slacker. But if you're measuring the head angle in comparison to a line drawn between the two axles, the head angle doesn't change. So the frame geometry is not changing when you put a bigger front wheel on. You're just raising the axle. And it's starting to make me think that the way geometry works may not necessarily always be in relationship to being parallel with the ground. Maybe it has more to do with the relationship between a line drawn between the axles and the front end axle when you have two different wheel sizes. There we go. Oh my god, this bike jumps nice and everything too. Yeah. So it's really challenging what I know about geometry. Because starting to think everything should be based on the relationship of where the axles are, not the relationship on the bike's relationship to the ground. So this is Bison Run, and believe it or not, I haven't done Bison Run on a hardtail yet. This is my first time on a hardtail. There's probably a couple of places on here where I'd prefer full suspension, but for most of the trail, shouldn't matter. So this bike has that Sunrace 12-speed cassette on it, and it'll be interesting to see how I like it compared to a Shimano cassette. I have a XT rear derailleur and an XT chain, and so far the shifts are pretty good. Oh, this rock garden. That's right. So I get to the bigger cogs and I shift to go into an easier gear. I'm trying to concentrate. Whew. Got one more. Oh, this DVO fork is amazing. That off the top comes in handy through that. Woo! Okay, let's talk about the cassette again. So when I'm shifting into the easier gears, so from the smaller rings to the bigger rings, it's not as crisp as the Shimano cassette. It's close, but every once in a while it gets kind of hung up and doesn't want to grab and shift. It goes goo, 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 goo a few times, then it shifts. It is pretty well adjusted. I've played around with the adjustment dial, but that's to be expected, I think. I mean, it's a much less expensive cassette. That's not to say it shifts bad. It actually shifts really well. It's just I'm getting picky about it, considering how technical this trail is. Tight, twisty, lots of trees, definitely some rock sections, jumps, berms. This bike handles really good in here. Like, the front end actually feels light. It's interesting. manuals like that. Oh my gosh, such a dream. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yep, just me. Hello. Thank you. It's just me. It's like, it's just my style of bike. It rides how I want a bike to ride. It's kind of a dream, because being a BMX rider and trying to ride mountain bikes, there's a challenge of getting a mountain bike to ride how you would like it to. So I think I have found that formula that I want. Now for this shitty downhill right here. I'm not a big fan of this. Although Fork does a good job on it. Whoa, going really fast. This is where I worry about the recon. Like, I love this thing. When the trail starts to get gnarly, this bike comes into its own so well. The faster you go, the better it gets. Pretty wild. I would have never guessed. So my next thing that I want to try, so I want to put this rear wheel, now that I have a 12-speed cassette on it, onto my Jaffe and see how that works. Okay, so I am back. It's 80 degrees. Drinking one of these bubblies. What flavor is this? This is raspberry. Huh. So that bike is awesome. I don't get it yet, but I'm gonna talk about this in another video, of why I think this bike rides so well. This mullet experiment is, I'm so glad I did it, because I think there's some things here that are just starting to make some sense to me, and I'll do a video on just that, otherwise this gets too long with me babbling. One thing I'm noticing when I look at my bike is, you ride here in Cuyuna and your bike's all nice and shiny and clean, and then it looks like this after you're done. Look at those wheels, all that red. Well, alright, I appreciate your support from my channel. Please like and subscribe. Peace.